the team with MLB's best record to at least keep pace with Cleveland. And they also should have more money to spend on help with the trade deadline coming in less than a week. So right now, it's important for you to get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to destination for the latest Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, analysis, and some other verbs. A reminder that the Locked On Twins podcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. I am one of your hosts, Dave Brown. I've been a member of the Baseball Writers Association since 2012 and a ball writer in general since 1998. You can also find me at Answer Dave Brown on Twitter and at my two kids' never-ending series of youth soccer events, and sometimes baseball/softball as well. Across cyberspace for me is Brandon Warren, who also has children. Isn't that right, Brandon?
You got it. Yeah, a couple of them. And they're both upstairs, hopefully going to be asleep in time to record. It's actually kind of fun. We are a little lighter out, so you can actually see more of my backdrop. But I am Brandon Warren, yes, of course, at Brandon_WARNE on the tweets. Give me a quick unfollow over there. And yeah, I've been watching the Twins for 30 years plus, covering them for about half that. And by the way, Dave, I watched the live of our last show. Yeah. And about 6 minutes in, do you know what the first comment said?
Do I want to know?
Hi, Dad. With your wife's name. So he thinks one of the kiddos was on YouTube watching Dad do the Your Team Every Day bit.
Oh my. Okay. Well,
yeah.
I know that he's you're talking about my son, right?
Well, one of the two, yeah.
Yeah.
It said your wife's name. I'm not going to share that publicly, but it said your wife's name as the. So I assume that was just.
Yeah, don't dox me, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remy. I just gave it away. Mentioned. I showed him the YouTube Shorts was kind of what hooked him. He's been aware that we've been doing this podcast, but it wasn't. It was kind of an abstract thing. But the YouTube Shorts, which you folks watching at home, you should look for those. They're fun little snippets. That's what got him.
Yeah.
And I know that he had said hi, but I didn't know that he said it in that way. So that's very funny.
Yeah, it was quite funny. By the way, this episode of Locked On Twins is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today.
I keep checking the Cleveland game. The Guardians are 1-1 with Detroit. The Tigers have been playing better. It's hard for the Twins to gain ground on Cleveland, even though they've been kind of losing some games lately. It's they haven't been as good as they were in the first half. But Twins take 2 out of 3 from Phillies. Phillies are the team with the best record in the league. I'm not ready to say they're the best team in the league.
Right.
I'm still kind of premature on all that stuff, but they have the best record for sure. They're probably the best team in the National League for sure. We'll see what the Orioles look like when it's all said and done. But the Twins improved to 56-45, I believe, overall. Still 2 games, 2 wins over 500, not below their season high mark. 24-32 now against teams that are over 500, and 4.5 or so back of Cleveland. They took 2 out of 3 against Ranger Suarez, Zach Wheeler, and Aaron Nola. So this is, if it's a repeat of the World Series, I don't know if it would be that order. It might be based on just how things go.
Yeah,
it's a heartening 2 out of 3 games. That one of the games could have gone the other way, so it could have been 2 out of 3 losing. It was a tough night, Wednesday or a Tuesday night, where it was a scoreless game until Juan Duran had a tough 9th inning. You actually attended that game, and you can give us maybe some insight about what it feels like at Target Field right now from a fan standpoint. But these are tough games, and it's about time the Twins beat a team that's over 500. And I think it's a decent result. I think Twins fans got to be at least somewhat happy with how it went.
Well, and to win a game started by, quote unquote, started by Steven Okert, didn't even get more than one out, it's huge. And, to do the come from behind thing after Kyle Schwarber had that 2-run single, and you got that feeling. You ever get that feeling of like the getaway day blues where it's 4-1 in the 6th inning and you just have no confidence? Like, it's a 3-run game in the 6th inning. You have no confidence that the offense that you're watching closely has anything coming to make it an interesting game, and the Twins piece it together. And yeah, I mean, it was a very well played series. I felt like for the Twins, outside of really the tail end of the second game, the one I was at, and even that was, I mean, kind of serendipitous. Juan Duran has had more hiccups this year than I think we'd prefer to admit, but to take 2 of 3 from, I'd say the NL's best team right now. Big part of that too is everybody on the Braves is either hurt or bad, and the Central is kind of whatever. And then the Dodgers haven't been quite what you'd hope for either. I mean, they've been good. They've been the Dodgers, but so to do that, I thought a lot of people thought the Twins could come out of the break losing 4 of 5 or even all 5. And honestly, for a minute there, it kind of looked like they were maybe going to be in danger of it. But all things said, 2-3 against some pretty good teams.
And that's without, having Royce Lewis in the lineup and without having Carlos Correa in the lineup. They didn't have, they weren't at full strength, and they had to do the opener thing today. I think it's, but I think that's been an encouraging thing about the Twins all season, for as inconsistent as they've been. And as sometimes it's been difficult for them to score runs. If you give them long enough, the guys in the lineup, the everyday rank and file, are going to try and squeeze out a few, and just enough to get them a victory. I think maybe the biggest takeaway from this game, other than them finally coming through with runners in scoring position, I think they started 0 for 8 and then had a couple hits at the end finally, and then were like 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position at the game you were at. So that was quite a streak to be in. But David Festa coming through. Yeah. I kind of thought he was maybe 1 or 2 wrong moves away from completely imploding. And it was not looking good, even after Okert started, so to speak. But Festa really came through. His ball moves a lot. He's very wiggly and jiggly up there, and looked like he was giving them fits for the most part. It wasn't totally clean. They left a lot of meat on the bone. It could have been kind of disastrous. But overall, finally, we get to see what David Festa can do, and what is been so hyped about him.
I'll just say it, Festa at his best. I know that you were going to probably do that. So
I leave those puns for you, but
I had 2 puns about him, and I said, call him Grandma Moses because he's painting at 97, or call him Sid Hartman because he's doing work at 97. And
I like that one. I like that one because it's media related.
They both appeal to different demographics, which I think it's important to know your audience. And
yes.
I thought
which dad jokes appeal to which demo.
Exactly.
It's actually something we probably need to look up.
You've got my baseball and sports contingent, and then my weird Twitter contingent. Oh gosh, where was I going with that? Well, anyway, Festa, I felt like Festa doing what he did against, obviously a great offense. You could make the argument that they weren't that great in the series, and maybe that's partially the Twins. Maybe that's partially the Phillies going through something. But Festa getting back on track after a really, really tough outing last time, the last time he was up, you really don't expect that to be a get back on the horse type of team to face with the Phillies. And boy, I tell you what, if you were to jump into the deep end, I think the deep end was about 20 feet deep in the first inning, where Steven Okert left him with a pretty tough spot. And they were even talking about where it might have made sense to walk Bohm to face Marsh, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And instead they just go to Festa, and Festa blows them both away, or ends up finishing off the inning with unscathed. But I thought like Festa took a gigantic step forward. The Twins have a TBD coming up in New York against the Mets on the deadline day, which is interesting to talk about too. And against Luis Severino, because they bumped some things up there. That'll be interesting, though, to see who that TBD is, because if they do the opener and Festa thing again against the suddenly surging Mets, that could be interesting as well.
The suddenly surging Mets. The other little thing that kind of set up the victory, as it turned out, was a sacrifice bunt by Austin Martin. The Twins got the leadoff guy on in the bottom of the ninth, and you kind of had at that point, you sort of had a different feeling. I think when it was 4-4 and Gregory Soto was pitching, Soto's command is not always great.
Oh, Twins fans have seen so many Gregory Soto meltdowns from his Tigers days. It was
right.
He was almost a guaranteed blown save against the Twins, I feel like.
Well, Kepler, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Kepler has really good success against, that's kind of redundant, good
Great
success.
But,
against Soto. But so that it's not exactly ideal when you have the winning run at second, potentially.
Yep.
And then you bunt him to third with one out. So the next two guys at least the next batter can try and score him without a hit. That's the idea. But it's still lefty on lefty. I was a little nervous about it, even though I know Kepler has a good history against Soto. And it wasn't like, I mean, he fought it off to, if the Twins had lost on a hit like that, there'd be a lot of expected batting average tweets coming out about how, we're so unlucky and all that.
Well, now I got to look that up, right?
Yeah, actually, that'd be a good thing to look up. And I can talk about it a little more. But Kepler got enough on it to get it up the middle, and the Phillies were playing in, which is what all teams do. So major league teams, I would say 9 out of 10 or maybe 99 out of 100 are going to bunt with Austin Martin there, even though you've got lefty on lefty coming up. It's just something they do. I don't know if it's in the DNA or what. So I think that's something that we can expect. But the Phillies bring the infield in. I rarely see the infield in working for its own sake.
Yeah.
It seems to me that you're elevating the possibility of a batting average going up more than anything else. You're letting the guy hit the ball on the ground and it can scoot through easily. And that's kind of almost what happened anyway. But Kepler got it. He didn't hit it hard, but he got it in just the right spot that there was nothing they could do about it. So maybe, good.
But it magnifies the potential of an error by bringing you in. And so a back-breaking error at that. So here are the vital signs on the Kepler hit before we go to break. A 66.7 mile per hour exit velo, -8 launch angle, 15-foot hit distance on a 99.2 mile an hour pitch, 0.060 expected batting average, and a home run in 0 of 30 ballparks. So
unless it's one of those ballparks for ants,
or like on MLB MVP back when you could hit the ball and then the ramp. So maybe that, but we've been playing a lot of that here at Target Field lately. Well, hey, let's do this. Let's take our first break. And I got a fun little story about one of our sponsors that has me kind of happy and sad at the same time. So again,
I can't wait to hear it
again. All right. This episode of Locked On Twins is brought to you by Booking.com. Summer travel is heating up. I know that we're both headed to opposite coasts here in about a week, and I won't see any baseball. I don't know if you'll see any baseball. We'll be watching baseball, and we'll be talking about baseball, but you can go for baseball. You can go for vacation reasons. It doesn't matter. Summertime is the time to get out of town. Kids aren't in school, and honestly, we're doing back-to-school stuff soon, so get those trips in with Booking.com with hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and everything else you can imagine under the sun. Booking.com will help you find your perfect stay, even if you're in your baseball rival city, whether you're hate watching the Guardians in Cleveland like a friend of mine did on Tuesday night. I think he was at Wrigley today. So talk about someone who's rich and has all kinds of money to travel. But yeah, right. But yeah, you can find hotels that overlook stadiums, family-friendly resorts on the beach. Booking.com has you covered for U.S. travel this summer and this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. And, I had to do it to them. Prize Picks, Dave. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. It is the easiest and most exciting and probably the most heart-palpitating way to play DFS. Because unlike other apps, it's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 stat projections and watch your winnings roll in unless you are me. I did my first pick 6 just kind of on a lark. and I was watching it while I was at the game, just kind of keeping an eye on it. And I closed it for a while. I opened it up, and all of a sudden I'm 5 for 5, thinking, hey, I'm going to turn this $20 into 400. And all I needed was the Mariners to strike out 6 times. Easy peasy, right? They're striking out left and right. They're the most strikeout-prone team in MLB, but they're facing Jose Soriano, a big ground ball guy. He gets 5 strikeouts, and the final batter he faces, Victor Robles, goes to a full count, and he walks. One strike away from $400. But hey, that's the fun. The part of the fun is in the chase. Part of it's in the destination, but part of it's in the chase. And that was it for me. Got to be part of the chase. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's LOCKEDONMLB on the promo code spot on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
That's tough when you come so close to.
I'm still reeling. I really am.
Winning a little parlay. Is that a parlay kind of?
I'd consider it a parlay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is though exciting to have some juice in a game that you might watch for other purposes first, but having a little financial stake in it is fun as well, and you're not always going to win. So just as long as you gamble sensibly,
yep,
it's a fun little hobby to have, kind of like fantasy baseball.
Absolutely,
I think. A few more things about this game, or the state of the Twins as they've played it. Kind of on the other end of the spectrum, we talked about David Festa coming through. Edouard Julien has 38 Ks looking to lead the American League. Aaron Gleeman reports of The Athletic, and 7 Ks in his last 14 plate appearances since coming back. Nick Nelson of Twins Daily.
I think he struck out one more time after that tweet.
Oh, really? I was trying to help you out, Edouard.
Edouard Julien taking the light rail again.
Yeah, really. Or maybe the third rail. That's a Chicago subway elevated train joke. That's not very nice, but
yeah, I said you got to know your audience. I don't know if you know your audience here, Dave.
The third rail in Chicago's train system is where the electricity is, so you don't want to take that yourself. Ooh. And that's what Edouard's doing. So at this point, by the time the Tigers series starts, is Edouard going to be on the roster?
No, I don't think so. And I think I don't get it. I pulled the stats, and he's hitting. I mean, I'm going to be off the top of my head here because I don't have the tweet handy, but he's hitting like 270 something with a 500 slug against fastballs and like a .081 with a 108 slug against everything else. It's blatantly obvious that anything with spin, it's got to be spin inside the zone. He's usually fairly decent at knowing what's in or outside the zone, unless it's a fastball for some reason. The thing, he seems to lock up on fastballs inside the zone, and anything with spin, he doesn't hit hard. And I don't need to tell you that, you don't have to be too bright to figure out that's not a great combination for being productive in today's game.
That's good for me.
Right.
You don't have to be too bright to figure it out.
Well, and he, the closest he got to ruling again was a seeing eye single through the box that, nothing to get all that jazzed up about. So it's going to be interesting to see how, I hate that phrase, interesting to see. It's such a placeholder. But we'll be watching to see Byron Buxton, obviously, with leaving the game with the contusion, not confusion, on his wrist.
Did not break a bone, at least according to the first scan. I know everybody was expecting. They're conditioned to expect the worst when it comes to Buck injuries.
Bobby Nightingale too is reporting though that nothing broken in the first initial imaging. So who knows if he'll need any extra time down. Luckily, the Twins are off Thursday before coming back Friday against the same Tigers that I'm hate watching against the Guardians here as we record. So
the Tigers are coming in, and we think, I don't know if Miranda will be ready, but
they're going to Detroit.
Oh, sorry. Well, okay. So coming in.
Now we're even. Now we're even.
All leaving.
Yep.
Everyone's leaving. Detroit's leaving too because they're in Cleveland, so they're not home. Hopefully they don't take Delta. So Julia, and it looks like that Royce Lewis is on the verge. He's not producing, but he's healthy. Mm-hmm. He's not producing at AAA, but it looks like he's on the verge. And then, if not with him, very soon afterwards, Jose Miranda will be back. So Julian, maybe not. We've also got Kyle Farmer, who might be ready to come back. Brooks Lee, not stinging the ball like he did at the beginning. He's going through an adjustment period.
Right.
Do you think that Lee and Julian might be out of here for Royce and Miranda?
For me, it would probably be Camargo and Julian, and keep Lee around just a little bit longer until Correa's back. And then when Farmer comes back, that's probably when you got to start thinking about Austin Martin going back. It's like they say, a good problem to have where you have 13 offensive guys on your roster, and all 13 of them are guys you want to have a spot for, or 12 in Kyle Farmer, or 11 in Christian Vasquez.
I think the one thing I want to get this out because while I have a chance. The thing with Julian that bothers me, not so much about what the Twins did, but maybe what they were sort of coerced to do with the injuries that they've had. And that's bring him up before it was time. Now, some of his numbers were good down at St. Paul, but it wasn't like he was it's not like he was performing like he was the first time when they brought him up.
He didn't do the Matt Wallner.
Right. He wasn't like absolutely killing it. He was still exhibiting some of the same issues. And I feel like he wasn't quite back all the way. There's a kind of a confidence thing or a mental thing or, some kind of bat to ball thing where, and the problem now is what's this going to do to his confidence? One, two, looking at it more cynically, what's it going to do to trade value? I mean, that's a guy that if you have him in the minors with the pedigree that he has, that's a guy maybe you could move for some pitching or whatever else you need down the stretch. And now these things are really, he's not probably doing well up here, and he's kind of exposed himself again to maybe not being as valuable as we all wanted him to be. So it just bugs me that that's kind of an unfortunate thing that's sort of happened. I don't blame the Twins for bringing him up because, like I said, they had injuries, but it's just kind of an unfortunate thing with the trade deadline being 5.5 days away.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you won't be able to get something for Julian if that was in the books in the first place.
Right. No, I agree totally. Yeah.
So a couple other things that happened before we do our last break. Brock Stewart's back.
Yep.
He had a strikeout, gave up a run, but he had a strikeout, so that's good. Margot still doesn't have a pinch hit. It's kind of hilarious that he's 0 for whatever it is as a pinch hitter.
28, I think. Did you see my stat of who?
Yeah, I did see it, but I didn't copy it to my brain.
I think it's 0 for 11 with Jock Peterson, and like the next 3 guys combined are as high as Manny Magoo. So yeah, it's really something.
If you go back though to I think it was May 16th, I did something else I didn't copy down, but he's been a helpful player since the middle of May, since he bottomed out overall. So except for the pinch hitting part.
Well, I think I've deduced that his weighted runs created plus when not pinch hitting is somewhere in the mix of like 96, which with better defense would be certainly a lot more useful. But nobody's upset with a 96 from their fourth outfielder usually.
The other thing from the series, not from this game, but from the game you were at, Simeon Woods Richardson was terrific. As good of a start as he's had. He's had maybe 3 or 4 really, really great starts, and this was one of them. It's good to see his development. Again, I like to watch him pitch. I think his stuff doesn't, and I mean that in terms of like the technical stuff plus that Saris talks about. Might still not be at the top of the league, but he knows what he's doing and he's learning more every time. He's a little bit of a mathematician out there, a little bit of a scientist, a little bit of an artist. I just like he's kind of. If Kevin Slowey had really worked out long term or something like that, or like Kevin Tapani at his best, maybe he could be that. And that would be awesome if that happened.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I think I saw a little swagger out of him too. He had gotten a big strikeout or something. It looked like he was kind of feeling it on the mound. So
yeah,
love to see that as well.
All right, well, let's take our last break before we talk about the rest of the stuff.
You got it. And our last spot of the night, but not our least, is Game Time. It's the Game Time app. Make sure you download it. And if you love going to MLB games like I do and like Dave does, but you're not in the press box, not sitting with the beautiful people, then Game Time is for you. Download the app and search your marketplace and your market for ball games, concerts, comedy shows, you name it, they've got it. I didn't have to find my own ticket last time out here, but rest assured, if I did, Game Time would have been my first stop. You get all in pricing, which means when you click that button, you know exactly how much you're going to pay up front. Some of those other people, we don't like those other people. They charge you a lot more at the end than you were expecting. And by that time, you're all the way in the pool. What are you going to do? The best thing you can do is swim up. You still can't get out. You already have planned to go to the game. You already told the kids you were going to the game. Now what? Now what, Dave?
We're not here to drown. We're here to go to baseball.
Exactly. So they got last minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concert, comedy, theater. Again, you name it, they have it. And it's great. Seat views. You want to see what your view is going to look like. You get a panoramic view from your seat. Won't be able to tell if someone has a big head like me in front of you, but everything else, pretty much perfect. I'm
not self-conscious about that at all.
Yeah, right. No, same. Yeah, no, I definitely don't feel that either. But they also have the lowest price guarantee where you get up to, or you get 110% of the difference if you find a ticket cheaper elsewhere. That's the Game Time guarantee. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. But again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, for $20. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Dave, I got to get ticked at you. You just sniped me on Charlie Condon in our fantasy league.
I saw that. I wasn't sure if anybody wanted us to bring up our fantasy teams, but
They don't.
You stole that other guy from me. That pitcher, Hayden
Birdsong.
Birdsong.
He had a really nice start last time.
I'm very happy to get Charlie Condon. This league is ridiculous because the guy was just drafted in the middle of the season, and then we got to like pivot. We're like, oh, we got this draftee. We got to add to our team's fantasy baseballs.
I have all kinds of money
sometimes
for cutting Paul Goldschmidt. So after I cut him, I'm flush with waiver cash, and that's how I got Travis Bazzana. So look out for me in the future. I'm trying to remember what my team name is. It might just be Team Warren because I'm pretty boring.
That's not true, and you know it.
You should tell everyone what your team name is. Nobody cares, I guess.
Grimace Milkshake. It's not Skibbity, Ohio, but it's something like what the kids would say.
I'm at Brandon_Warren. Wow, that is a great team name.
That's just a placeholder. That's like your let's wait and see or whatever that phrase was that you don't like.
My best year, I was Bang the Woodrum.
See, the only problem I have with fantasy team names where you name a player. Wait, who's the player? Or was that?
No, I said Bang the Woodrum. Bradley Woodrum is the guy I worked with at Fangraphs, and so
I remember that name. Yeah.
And then I had my other car is a Sestouli one time.
I was thinking of Nico Goodrum. That's why I thought it was a player.
See, that would have worked too. And
I don't like when teams name their team after a player because then that means you have to keep that player under all circumstances. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
Right. I was proud of my team, Duke Nukem. It was Sean Newcomb, and then Duke was Marcus Stroman. By the way, again, we're really getting off track here, and I'll get us back.
No.
The first pitch at Target Field on Tuesday night was thrown out by someone they called a musician named Mike, and they said he was a great pitcher at Duke. Could that have been Mike Matuella, the guy that was drafted by the Rangers like 8-10 years ago?
I don't remember who you're talking about. So,
he was supposed to be a high pick. He got hurt. He never became a big leaguer. He got like a $2 million bonus. But
was this a game you were at, and you're asking me who the guy was?
No,
am I getting that right?
I'm saying it's a musician who pitched at Duke, and his name is Mike. I'm just wondering if you think it might be Mike Matuella.
And they didn't give a last name.
They didn't give a last name, so I'm wondering if that's who it was. I was trying to do a little do your own research, and I couldn't figure out who it was. So
no, I have no idea.
Anyway,
hey, the other thing I wanted to bring up, and I think maybe you know what we should do is talk about it more in our next.
Sure.
But the thing I wanted to bring up, since I teased it, I think the Athletic reports that MLB will direct some luxury tax dollars to help teams losing TV money, teams such as the Twins, because of the ongoing, the Diamond Sports bankruptcy, the bane of my existence, somewhat literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Maybe up to $15 million for a team, and that money could be available this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Twins, Dan from The Athletic says, Dan Hayes says the TV revenue for the Twins cut in half, perhaps, from $54 million in 2023 money they were getting from Bally Sports to that would be $27 million if I do my math correctly. So that's something to think about for next time. That could be huge, just because it gives them one less excuse to add the starting pitcher that they really need to add before the deadline. They really need to.
Okay.
They need lads. I know you're out there. You need to.
We'll do we'll do an episode on that, but quickly before we go, how much do you think this matters? Just yes, no. Do you think it's going to matter?
Yes. I think because of the season the Twins are having and the prospect of adding maybe, let's say, $10 million, that, that doesn't mean they're going to add, I don't know who would be, like more expensive, but they'll add somebody who is a good starter.
Jack Flaherty money, though.
What's that?
It's Jack Flaherty money.
Jack Flaherty. They could have Jack Flaherty. I don't know if it'll be an interdivisional trade, but maybe they'll add Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty pitched well again tonight against Cleveland, but the Guardians went ahead in the 8th inning, by the way, against the Tigers. So it's really hard for the Twins to gain ground. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Twins. For your hosts, Brandon Warren and Dave Brown, this is Dave Brown saying we will see you
tomorrow night.